What's going on, guys? Welcome back. Happy February 29th. Kind of forgot leap years were a thing. Thought we voted them out. A couple of you guys probably have a birthday on it, and I don't even know how you deal with that. But either way, we have an OTA. It's been a while since we've seen one in Marvel Snap, and we need a little bit of a splash in the current meta. And damn it, guys, we definitely got one. Today we have not one, but two different nerfs to extremely competitive cards and decks that are not only going to affect those cards, but also the supporting cards around it. We also got a buff to probably one of the most iconic characters in Marvel that has done kind of nothing since Marvel Snap has come out. A lot of one-cost changes, a lot to break down. Let's go and start off with the spiciest of changes, guys, and that is Adam freaking Warlock finally is getting a buff. One of the most iconic characters in Marvel and powerful, if you don't know, is being outclassed in Marvel Snap by the likes of like Spider-Ham, Brood, dare I say, M'Baku. And now their answer to this was changing him. I don't want to call it a buff yet. From a 2-0 that if you're winning a location, you draw a card. Very powerful effect. But they're making him a 5-cost 4-power card. And I don't know how to feel about this quite yet. I mean, in what situation are we probably going to be playing this card? I mean, outside of maybe Magic, we have some good synergy. You can maybe get a turn 7 and then draw a card to get all your combos. Lockjaw, which we'll get to. Wave, Jubilee, maybe, but probably the best case scenario that I see is ramp decks have some awesome combos, and now with Corvus, we can also access with Wave, Adam Warlock a bit early, and I think these ramp decks can get their combos easier, and this is kind of where he's going to belong, playing him on turn 4 after something like Electro. That's really the best fit that I see for him, but I'm going to say it. At least we have something new to test out with him. Maybe we find a great way to cheat him out and get access to him. I think probably Crystal's just a better card if you're, into these card combo decks that really want the draw. But the biggest news of all this is if you play him down successfully on a lane your opponent isn't winning, he doesn't have 0 power. He can right away get you a card draw. And as we know, extremely powerful in Marvel Snap where you only have 12 card decks. And that, my friends, takes us to an end of an era. Darkhawk is getting what seems to be his 10th nerf since his release, either to him or his supporting cards. Either way, a lot's about to change. Darkhawk is going from a 4-0, keeping everything the same, but being bumped up finally to a 5-cost, 4-power card, and this is devastating. I mean, clearly, guys, this is Darkhawk's fault, right? It's not some random-ass saber-tooth tiger that neither of us have ever heard of until playing Marvel Snap. That discounts one of the best cost slots by 1, allowing us to play 2 on turn 6. That's preposterous. This is pretty damn major for a lot of different reasons and will, without question, reduce both his play and his win rate. But on top of that, it's going to ultimately call for new deck designs. Rest in peace, probably majorly Ravonna, who loved to use this package with Darkhawk, but also Mystique, who seemingly now can't be played on turn 6 with him in conjunction if you have Zabu down, so she's going to be taking a little bit of a hit. Darkhawk had a lot of support and a ton of decks based around it. It was getting a little simple. It was like, put in a few cards with the Darkhawk package and then you have a great deck. So this is obviously going to shake up a ton. I don't think he's going to be near as good. I mean, probably somewhere in the realm of like Ronin and Devil Dinosaur, right? Which, those are okay decks, pretty good decks. Let me know, though. I think there's a lot of love for Darkhawk in the comment section. Do you think this nerf was warranted? Do you hate it? Do you love it? Let me know. All right, guys, didn't want to talk about it, but it's time. If you have small kids, please ask them to leave the room. This is a tough one to talk about. We lost an animal today. More specifically, we lost the dog of Marvel Snap in Lockjaw. He got the old Yeller treatment, and even that is probably an under-exaggeration for how bad it is. They killed him. He is a 3-cost, 2-power card. That's the one that you know and love. They're taking him to a 4-cost, 5-power card, meaning they are completely getting rid of a full rotation that you can do with the good boy Lockjaw. Why this is major, if you played Hela, you played Thanos, which if you played those, you were definitely playing Lockjaw in those decks. That's dead. That's gone with, which kind of makes sense maybe that they did Darkhawk now too, because we would have all just shifted to that deck. Now it's like, what the hell do we do now outside of maybe Loki? This is massive, right? Because on turn 4, you would have to prep to be able to even swap a card out on that turn. Maybe Black Swan, maybe Wasp. Those get a bump up in value with Lockjaw. But other than that, you only get 2 turns, and that's realistically turn 5 and 6, and even then it's going to be tough because you should be playing other stuff. This is going to be a dramatic change to a very unique archetype in Snap. I'm glad they're not getting rid of the ability, but they're kind of taking it up with, like, Iron Lad, Jubilee, in terms of, like, cheating out some cards you weren't supposed to have. It's major. It's major. It's the death of Lockjaw, in my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this isn't as big of a change, but I expect fully for him to kind of get out of these decks, and then we kind of start anew. Maybe Hela's going to be just fine with him at this cost. Like, she didn't absolutely need him on turn 3, so maybe this isn't the biggest deal in the world, but most likely it's going to dramatically shift up the meta. I mean, you're not really going to want to play Zabu because then you kind of thin out the cheating of the deck. Feels a little bit weird, but maybe he's just with Zabu now. Again, Wasp might get a bump up. We're going to have to see. Time is going to tell. I think things like Jubilee with Lockjaw are going to be way better now. Ultimately, we'll probably come up with a good Lockjaw deck again, but it could take some time. All right, we're going to go ahead and just rip the Band-Aid off. We have one more kind of just sad nerf, and this one is tough because it affects a lot of different styles of deck. You know, Darkhawk and Lockjaw have their kind of specific deck. Forge is, funny enough, going back to the same Forge that we knew and loved from the release of Marvel Snap. They've tried him out with a bunch of stuff, +3 giftable power, +2. He's now going back to a 2-2, my friends, and what a full circle journey for this guy. This is a bummer because obviously like Deadpool and Silver Surfer, and there's a lot of decks that loved him at the 1-cost slot, bounce decks. Those are going to change pretty dramatically, and it is somewhat sad to see. Now, they compensated this by taking a card down to 1 cost. We're going to get to that in a second. I see Forge dropping again in play. When he was a 2-2, the guy just did not get that much play. There are going to be some decks for him. I was hoping maybe they would increase him back to +3 power with the cost increase. That's not the case, and it's a sad day for a lot of archetypes out there. Because, yeah, Forge is looking rough. All right, that's it for the spiciest. I've seen more joy and happiness at a graveyard than this video, so let's go ahead and, start talking about the good stuff here. And we start with a 1-cost card in AntMan. This is actually insane. AntMan is getting +4 for his ongoing effect, meaning he is now a 1/5 if you fill his lane. AntMan already had his uses in Valkyrie decks. He already had his use in Spectrum decks and some other Destroyer decks. Now he's just going to be a great card and an awesome option at that. 1/5 is a super rare stat line, and I think this is dramatically going to increase his play. And I'll say this, I'm all down for this, guys. I would love to see all the 1-costs get equal treatment, right? So it's not the Sunspot, Nebula, Nico show, but we can play more of these iconic and just fun cards to play. This is definitely going to be a nice boost to those style of decks, and a bigger one than I think some people might think, especially with Valkyrie. And then that takes us to America Chavez, guys. She's coming back. Not to 6-cost, 9 power. No, she's going down to 1 cost and 2 power from what was a 2-3 stat line. This is to replace Forge in a sense, I think, which 1-2 is still great stats. And she gives plus power, +2 to be, in fact, to the top card in your deck. So whatever you draw on turn 2. Some interesting things to do here. This can definitely replace Forge in some instances, like maybe in the Sinister deck or the Brood deck, something like that. It's not as direct as something like Forge is, but definitely will be interesting to experiment here. I don't see her having the same role as maybe Forge did. Like bounce decks, will they use this, or are they going to go more like Iceman and Spider-Ham kind of route, or just the number of other on-reveal cards? But Chavez just didn't get a lot of play at 2 cost, so maybe this will increase her play of all of our millions of split variants that we have of the card back in the good days. Chavez is never going back to her old design. It'll be interesting to see her here, and we got yet another great 1-cost card. And last but not least, guys, we got 2 3-cost cards, Vulture and Swordmaster, both getting themselves a +1 on their power. Now, Swordmaster definitely needed it. I just did this aggro discard deck, and he didn't make that cut. But now 3/7 is a super sexy stat line. Very interested in the Swordmaster bump up. I think it's going to get more play for the risk that comes with them. And now discard has so many other ways to take advantage of getting rid of cards. And so Proxima Midnight, things like that. We're going to go up a little bit with the Swordmaster change. Vulture, though, what the hell? This is nuts. If you move him 1 time, he has 9 power. You can stack that to even crazier numbers. I think this is an awesome change. They're just slowly helping move out still without, fully making the deck great. But don't forget, Vulture is just a good tempo card. Have him with 1 card that can move, and you have a freaking 3-cost, 9-power card pretty easily. So I see them both getting some play in their respective decks. It's not earth-shattering, but it was a couple of cards that were definitely lacking compared to the ones around them. Altogether, guys, a lot of freaking changes. Between these 2 guys, the nerfs to Forge, the AntMan America Chavez, the death of Darkhawk and Lockjaw, and then, of course, Adam Warlock. This is bound to be a very experimental meta, a very crazy one at that, of us figuring out some new decks. And as they continue to address some of these more common decks, we still have, like, I don't know, Loki out there. But as we continue to address these decks, the more it opens up just deck design and not a new card coming out, plugging it into the best deck, and then just, you know, so on and so forth. So let me know your thoughts on the OTA. You can get your pitchforks right there, your torches over here, or you guys can leave a nice comment if you like the changes. But let me know and let the devs know down in the comments what you think of the OTA changes. Hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video. We'll see you out there, and to the next one. Happy snapping.